So welcome everyone to our second lesson, and I decided firstly to do a yin yoga lesson of about an hour with a little bit of an introduction at the beginning to what yin yoga is. For those of you who haven't done a yin yoga class before, so coming to lie down on your back to begin with, find a comfortable, settled position. So a yin practice is simple, but simple does not mean easy. And yin yoga has the same goals and objectives as any yoga, but it directs the physical stimulation normally created in the postures deeper than the superficial or the muscular tissue. So we're working a little bit deeper, and we're targeting the connective tissue, the ligaments, the tendons, and even the joints of the body that normally are not exercised very much in a more active style of yoga. And yin yoga typically concentrates on the lower body, the hips, the pelvis, and the lower spine, which is what we'll be doing today. Just for those of you who haven't done it before, while initially this style of yoga can seem quite boring, maybe, passive, definitely, and soft, it can be quite challenging due to the long duration of the poses. So the magic ingredient in yin yoga is holding the posture for a time. So the body is in a kind of traction, and in this way we can stress the connective tissue. And the longer you stay in a position without pain, up to a certain extent, the longer you stay, the more benefit you will get, up to a maximum of about 20 minutes. The yin teachers' research seems to suggest that you don't get many more benefits for holding a pose for more than 20 minutes. But we're not going to be doing that tonight. That would be basically 3 poses or 2 poses in an hour class. So we're going to typically be holding poses for about 5 minutes. And while you're holding the poses, your edge will change over time as the body opens up, and will invite you maybe to go a little bit deeper. There's only one word of warning in yin poses. If you're feeling kind of a dull, aching sensation, then that's totally normal and to be expected. If you're feeling anything like a tingling or an kind of electric feeling, then that's normally indicates that nerves are being pinched, or that this is not a very good position for your body. So in that situation, you would back off or come out completely. So in these long held static postures, it's like the beginning of our class, where we start to look at our thoughts, except we continue this for a whole hour, as we are static for almost the whole of that time. So this makes it much more like a seated meditation, and it presents similar challenges to a seated meditation. We deal with our thoughts, though, in the same way. We deal with them one by one. We don't get immersed or involved in the story that our thoughts are weaving. We keep going back into our body and the sensations that we're feeling moment to moment, and back to our breath, going back to that dimension of stillness. So typically, the kind of vocabulary that we use in a yin class are words which you will hear repeated again and again. Words like melting, unfolding, releasing, yielding, surrendering, merging, sinking, allowing, softening, calming. And through that vocabulary, we attempt to deepen the practice and ultimately to replace ambition with attentiveness. We're working on replacing ambition, any kind of striving, with attentiveness, fostering a sense of letting go of any certainties and sensing an immediacy, just breathing, relaxing, enjoying being just exactly where we are, moment to moment, breath to breath. So now, because we're going to be stationary for a lot of this class, now would be a good time to just do a few stretches for the next couple of minutes, just so you feel that you've warmed up a little bit. So typical things that we do at the beginning of the class, like stretching the legs one by one up to the ceiling, rocking side to side on your back, and any other opening postures that you feel that you need to do. And I'll give you a couple of minutes to do that. Just another 20, 30 seconds, and then when you finish, come to lie down on your back again. And then from here, our first pose, which is a pose we have done in class before, most of us, which is a tree pose position, but rather than tree as a balance, we're doing it lying down. So this also gives us a chance to stretch our arms a little bit. Take that opportunity whenever you can in the class, because we don't tend to stress, as I said, the upper body. So with the left leg straight out in front of you, as if you were standing on that left leg, bring your sole of your right foot onto the inside of your left thigh. And it can come wherever is comfortable. It can come quite with the heel quite close to the further up the groin, or it can go down. It can even be against your knee. There's no need to protect that knee, whereas if you were standing, you wouldn't want to be putting pressure on your knee. It doesn't matter because you're lying down, it's not weight bearing. And if you need to, padding under your right knee, just to keep it relaxed. And this is a 2-minute hold. The arms can be over the head with the palms of the hands together. You can change that position if you need to and have them level with your shoulders or anywhere else that's comfortable with your arms. It gives you a little bit of stretch in the upper body. And then gently release from the position. Stretch your right leg out alongside your left. And when you're ready, when you feel ready, bring the sole of the left foot onto the inside of the right thigh. And your arms in their preferred position. Might be a different position from before. You can have the back of the hands on the floor. So at the moment, especially if this is new for you, not directing you to think or breathe in any particular way. Just noticing how the body and the mind react to being static. And then slowly stretching the left leg out alongside the right leg. And then either staying in this position in Shavasana, so separating the legs and the arms to the side, or if you didn't include any twisting movements in your initial warm-up, bring the soles of the feet on the floor and let the knees drop from side to side with the arms level with the shoulders or the hands resting on the tummy. You might want to do that anyway. Just doing that in your own time, just gently twisting the spine as your head turns one way, your knees drop the other. And then in the next 30 seconds or so, find your way to a sitting position. You can just roll onto your side and come up, or you can bring the knees to the chest and have a little bit of an active roll. Nice to do some active things in the class. Later on, we will do a class as a fusion of these soft poses with stronger poses, but tonight we're just doing a pure yin class. So eventually you find your way up to a sitting position. We're going to start with a posture called butterfly. Yin yoga names its postures differently, and not because it's trying to be different, but because just to differentiate the yin version of postures from the more traditional yang, stronger versions. So the first yin pose we're doing is butterfly. The yang version is cobbler. So the soles of the feet are together. And whereas in cobbler, your heels are drawn up close to your buttocks, in butterfly, again, it's a pose we have done in class, most of us. Your feet are further away from you, so they're making a diamond shape rather than a triangular shape that you'll be making in cobbler pose, so butterfly pose. And even in this very simple pose, there are still things to remember, and some of the other three tenets of yin yoga to remember. The first one we did at the beginning, the holding of the posture. So now we're going to look at the coming into the posture. The key words here are slowly and gently. So we're not in the posture yet. We've got the soles of our feet together. We mindfully tune our awareness to our breath in a more conscious way, adopting a calm, smooth breath. And that breath will be the guide that takes us into a position where we're feeling just the right amount of sensation in the target area. So we get a balance, our own personal balance between sensation and a relaxed space. Keeping the breath awareness, shift the buttocks backwards just to roll onto the front edge of your sitting bones and settle into those bones that you can feel making contact with the floor. So it's not the flesh of the buttocks, it's the sitting bones, or sits bones, sometimes called. Eyes closed if they're not already. Relax your attention towards the ground, but still not going anywhere yet. Relax the breath, focus on the breath. Keep your attention on your breath as you come into the pose. But still, you're not coming into the pose yet. You're just sitting there waiting. So when we move into the posture, we're waiting for the feedback that our body is giving us before we move deeper. We're not just pushing ourselves straight down. Too much intensity too soon will mean that we will hinder our ability to move deeper later on in the 5 minutes. Too little won't provide adequate stimulation to get the maximum benefits. So to begin, rather than hinging forward from the waist with your back flat, bring the hands onto the floor in front of you and swaying gently from side to side, slowly come down towards the floor bit by bit, allowing your elbows to bend, your hand position on the floor to change, to slide forward if necessary. And you're just coming to your first sensation of stretch, your first edge, and be aware of where it is. Just pause for a moment and see where you're feeling it. Is it a sensation in the inner thighs? Are you feeling it in the outer thighs? Are you feeling it more in the lower back, or the middle back, or the upper back? It's a gentle pose. So those sensations may be, for some people, very, very subtle. You might have to inquire a little bit more deeply to find the sensations. If your knees are a bit sensitive here, you can be a bit more active in the feet, pressing the soles of the feet together and stretching your toes outwards to the side. Just take some of the pressure off the knees. Now, can you slowly, edge by edge, can you feel the outer body relaxing and folding, kind of folding over your inner body as you soften and you round a bit further? Checking that the spine isn't straight. If you keep the spine straight and the muscles active, as you would in a yang version of this, then you're hiding the connective tissue between the bones. So keep the back rounded, come to a place where you're feeling then just allow gravity to embrace you. Second principle of Yin Yoga. Number one is coming into the pose in a very mindful and quiet way. The second is becoming still. So you're resolving not to make any unnecessary movements while you're in the pose, unless those sharp electric tingling sensations are telling you to withdraw. Otherwise, don't try to escape any sensations you're feeling. Scanning and rescanning the body again and again to see where you're holding your tension and releasing a bit more. Surrender to gravity. That natural force of gravity that we're utilizing in yoga is so vital. I was reading that astronauts lose up to 18% of their bone density and 30% of their muscular strength after only a few weeks without the force of gravity acting on their bodies. So use that powerful force that we move around in all the time. And finally, halfway through the hold, there are three qualities to the stillness that we found here. There is a physical stillness, so our breath can still. There is a stillness of mind. So a physical stillness, a stillness of the breath, and a stillness of the mind. Because yogis discovered this connection long ago, as did we, that when the breath is calm, the mind is calm. Another 30 seconds, which in your relaxed state may be only a few rounds of breath. And one of the other four principles is, the final one is releasing with care. So not moving to begin with. You're going to come out very slowly and very mindfully. This is part of the practice. So noticing first the intention to move. Intending. It's like you're experiencing that mental event of your intention. And then slowly beginning to come out of the position, still breathing, keeping your same awareness on your breath. Feeling the sensations, however subtle, completely. Instinctively, probably, you find that you're using your hands to support you. And eventually just leaning back onto your elbows and stretching out into your relaxation position again. And you're feeling what in Yin Yoga is called, I first heard it in reference to Yin Yoga, it refers to all yoga, all types of physical asana. You're feeling the rebound effect in Shavasana. And there's much more time in a Yin class to be aware of those rebound effects. And then you're going to find your way maybe first with the knees to chest briefly, and then onto your side, and ending up on your front. And make a pillow with your hands. Place your forehead on the top hand. Have the elbows out to the side. And we're going to do Sphinx pose. Again, it's a pose that we have done in class before, but we'll be holding it maybe a bit longer than normal. We normally have time to there. It's 5 minutes in Sphinx. So in Sphinx pose, which is I suppose it's the Yin version of Cobra, really. Cobra is not a posture that you could hold for 5 minutes, as we all know. But Sphinx is possible for 5 minutes, and after, with about 1.5 minutes to go, I will give you the choice to do seal pose, where you take your arms out in front of you, lift up a little bit higher. Your hands are turned out to the side a bit as a seal, which is where it gets its name from. And that's a stronger stretch for your back if you feel you need it closer to the end. So with the elbows on the floor, you can have the palms of the hands together, the palms flat on the floor, which is much more like a classic Sphinx that it takes its name from. Legs are separated. Whereas in a yang back bend, like bow or cobra or upward facing dog, our buttocks are tense to protect our lower back. In Sphinx, that's not necessary. So try and become as muscularly unengaged as you can. If you still feel a bit vulnerable in your lower back, then obviously you can have a little bit of tension in your buttocks to protect your lower back. But if you feel safe, just allow your buttocks to soften. So all of the gentle traction is pulled in your lower back. You may feel a very strong sense of compression in this pose, or you may feel a very slight compression, so that feelings you're exploring may be very subtle, or you might be having to struggle a little bit more with quite strong, dull aching feelings in your lower back. So if the sensations are very mild, you're feeling a very small amount of compression in your lower back, then adopting a slightly stronger pose, coming into seal. So your arms are in front of you, palms of the hands flat on the floor. Hands turned slightly outwards, and you'll find in that position you lift yourself up a little bit higher and create a bit more compression pressure in your lower back. Your arms are probably locked, but you're trying to keep a little bit of softness in the elbows and the shoulders. Obviously, you are supporting weight here more obviously. You can slide your hands further away to lessen the intensity. You can bring the hands closer together to increase the intensity. It's another 30 seconds. And then if you're, again, coming out slowly and mindfully, just beginning, first of all, before you make any movements, beginning with the intention. Intending. And then that inner cue that I often mention, you're waiting for that inner cue to slowly come out of the pose. So if you're in Sphinx, You can slide your elbows out to the side, which is a very easy and comfortable way to come down, and rest your forehead back onto one hand stacked over the other. And if you're in seal pose, elbows on the floor, and retrace your steps through Sphinx and down to the same position. And bring all your awareness to where you were gently stressing, which was your lower back, and feel the rebound effect of that. Just waiting, but not forcing those feelings to subside, just noticing any sensations in your lower back where, in energetic terminology, the chi is pooled in the area you've just been gently working. When you feel ready, you push back to child's pose, bringing the hands under the shoulders, pushing the bottom back towards the heels, finding your own comfortable version of child's pose. It might be an extended version where you can stretch the spine out a little bit muscularly, or it might be with the hands further back. And the next pose is going to be shoelace or half shoelace. The full shoelace pose demands quite a lot of flexibility. So we'll start with the full version. You'll get an idea very quickly whether that's going to be possible for you. So from child's pose, coming to sit up on your heels. And then take the buttocks, sit up off your heels. Slide your right knee forward. Take your right foot out to the left. And then bring your right foot back towards your left hip. So your thighs are on top of each other. Almost a bit like you're doing eagle, but without the wrapping round. So the bottom of your right thigh is tucked up against the top of your left, as if you were sitting in a very tight cross-legged position. And then from here, it's going to give you an idea of whether you can do this pose, is you slowly sit back. The idea is that your feet come out to the side and your buttocks come down to the floor, or if they're not quite there, onto a block. This is going to be a 5-minute hold, so you need to be A, able to get into the position easily, and B, make an assessment of whether, am I going to be able to be here for 5 minutes or not? You have to come out sooner, it doesn't matter. So that's the full version. The half version, sit forward again, uncross the legs, sit back onto the buttocks, and sit to your side and take both legs out in front of you. Keep the right leg straight and bring the left foot, bend the left leg, sole the left foot on the floor, take the left foot across the other side of your right knee, and then with your right hand, draw your left foot back as close to your right hip as you can. So again, you've got that, so you can see why this is called half shoelace, hopefully, because your left thigh is trying to get into as close a contact with your right thigh as possible. With the hands either side, if you shift the hips back a little bit, and then fold over in that position. And it's going to be 2.5 minutes on that side, and then 2.5 minutes on the other side. If you're in the full position, it's going to be the same, except you're going to come out halfway through and change the cross of the legs. So these long holds that you do in yin yoga are as much about training your mind as they are about training your body. You're training your mind to respond skillfully to difficult circumstances. You're learning as you do in long meditation that a very important message: you don't need comfort to feel at ease. You don't need to contract around feelings and sensations always. Instead, you breathe steadily into those sensations. You remain relaxed. You cultivate feelings of space, even in discomfort. And you continue to focus on your breath. Yin postures don't make the physical demands that yang postures make on your breath, so you have more oxygen available and you can concentrate on the breath more easily. That's halfway through. So whether you're in the full position or the half position, very, very slowly and with full awareness, no hurry, come back and change. And 2.5 minutes on this side. And while you hold the posture, keep taking a new inner inventory of what's happening. Notice how the practice affects you on a physical level. How does this posture affect you on a physical level? How does it affect you emotionally? Just accepting whatever you find out. Just keep being curious. Remember, we're not looking for the deepest, most amazing expression of each of these poses. We can't see each other, but if we could, we'd look around and see everyone was in slightly different positions. Everybody's skeletons and musculature would allow them to come into slightly different positions. But we're not looking for that most amazing expression. We're looking for sensation. If you're feeling something, then you're doing it. It's another minute. And then slowly, slowly intending to come out. And then when you find your own inner cue, slowly moving. So towards the end of these classes, you're hopefully getting to the stage where it becomes more and more difficult to move. You're getting so happy in the posture you're in, even if it's causing you sensation, that you don't want to move. When you've finished, coming onto your knees and then stretching back into downward facing dog, just making any small, subtle movements in downward dog just to help stretch out the hips again. And when you've finished, coming down to lie on your back again, in your chosen relaxation position. In this position where we're using almost no physical energy, you have time to notice the effects that posture has just had on you, the rebound effects of shoelace or half shoelace pose. And then bringing the soles of the feet onto the floor with the knees up. And going to do a twist. The twist will be 2.5 minutes each side. So you can choose either to keep the legs separated, the feet separated. You can take them wider if you want to, even gentler if you take them towards the edges of your mat. Or if you want to make it stronger, then you wrap your right leg over the top of your left. So a little bit like shoelace that you were in before. And then with the arms level with the shoulders, whichever position your feet are in, you drop your knees to the left. And breathe along the whole length of the spine, the whole length of the stretch that you're feeling in your buttock, identifying where you're feeling it. We'll all probably be feeling it in different places. So twisting the spine is not the only way to end a yoga practice, but many traditions choose to do that. It does restore equilibrium to the nervous system, and it's kind of contradictory, but it does get a lot of the residual kinks out of our system, even though we're actually causing a kink in the body by twisting it. One more minute. And then again, beginning with the intention to move out of the pose. Intending. And turn your head back to the center first if you turned it the other way. And then slowly back to the center. Uncross the legs for a moment, if they were crossed. And when you're ready, changing to the other side. So this time wrapping the left leg over the right. And coming into your position. 2.5 minutes here. So remember, don't feel that you can't adjust a little bit. You can slowly and mindfully play around with your arm positions, your leg positions, until you find the sweetest spot for you. Just notice how each position will affect your body slightly differently. If your knees are higher up towards your head, then your upper back will get more of a stretch. If your knees are further down away from you, probably you're going to feel your lower back getting more of a stretch. If this is your first class then that you've done yin, then you're going to have to experiment with these poses to find the ones that work best for you, that give you just the right amount of sensation. One more minute. And then noticing that intention to move. And waiting for that cue to very slowly retrace your steps back, head first, then your knees, uncross the legs, stretch when you're ready out into your relaxation pose. And bring all your awareness to your spine. Feel the spine loose, the looseness in the spine, the softness in your spine. Feel the spine open, your spine relaxed. Imagine that as you inhale, you're breathing in a golden, smiling light throughout the whole length of your spine, from the bottom to the top as you inhale to the base of the skull. And exhale that smiling golden light down to the tailbone. And I'm going to leave you now. So you might choose to stay here for a little bit longer. Or if you still feel you've got lots of time, you might want to do a few standing postures, maybe a few rounds of sun salutations just to round off your practice, although a yin practice is complete in itself. It's just covering one facet of yoga. And I'll hopefully, I can't say see you soon, but I'll hopefully share another class with you very soon. Namaste.